everyone, and welcome to this week's DSS break. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're here live every other week to talk about data science experiences and best practices with data leading professionals in a 15-minute break. And I'm Anna Anderson, the founder at Data Science Salon, and I'm streaming live here from our headquarters located in the heart of Miami, right next to the Design District. And on today's break, I'm sitting down with Jayeeta, and she's a senior data science manager of emerging technologies at Fitch Ratings. And Jayeeta is she has so many years in the industry and a lot of different experience with things like NLP, statistical modeling, product analytics, and implementing a lot of different machine learning solutions and B2B and B2C domains. And right now, Jayeeta's at Fitch Ratings. And as you know, I'm sure everybody knows who Fitch Ratings are, but they're a global leader in financial information services. And thank you so much for joining us for this DSS break episode, Jayeeta.
Thank you, Anna. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. And I'm excited to continue our conversation that we started in the DSS panel last month. So very excited for it. Thank you.
Yeah, and as you know, the whole I think when we had the panel, people were still kind of, it wasn't new, but now it seems
getting into the groove of it. Yeah,
everybody's just like, the whole topic has exploded. So I think it's really good time to pick up and kind of see. I know that you've been really focusing on LLMs in particular lately. So I think it's really great to kind of pick up and see where, I know it's been maybe 2 months now, but where you guys now, and how can I know that they captured your interest, and how can they really be effective in the fintech space? Because I know there's a lot of regulations and things like that that you guys are dealing with. So maybe we could talk a little bit about that, because I think that's something that people are wondering.
Right, absolutely. So I'll give a little bit of context. I started my journey in the NLP space I think close to now 7 years ago, and we were still building very small models there, building it from scratch using techniques like word to vec, doc to vec, and there were so many limitations. We'll always get into out of vocabulary issues, not having enough data, not having enough resources, and then came that transitional and transformational phase of having BERT based models, which are more foundational, and but still it gave a good head start that you are not building things from scratch anymore. Now you are fine tuning on top of it. So that was a one step forward. And then you very rightly said, in the last couple of years, it has become now last couple of months, and then especially in the last couple of weeks, how this rapid rise of LLMs have come across. And I am sure you've noticed that now it's not only industry professionals, but everyone who's in the space, who's not even in the tech industry, knows about it, because because of the the chat GPT hype that came in, and how it can solve various problems that not only technical in nature. So the goal now for all the organization, and especially very different fintech based companies, is that how to leverage this, but leverage it in a very safe manner. So safe in the terms of we cannot just deploy production grade LLMs without having proper guardrails or evaluation matrix that can be constantly checked. There's human in the loop. Nothing goes it's not completely automated, and I do not think getting it to a completely automated stage is the right way to go. Before we have finalized on what those evaluation metrics are, we have fine tuned on those specific guardrails that needs to be implemented before we go that route. So it's a long process. The journey has started, but I'm very excited to see some of the capabilities that are coming up constantly. And every day I wake up, I see there's a new model that has come up. And I'm okay, now there's a more opportunity. So
I feel AI is having an iPhone moment, right? where when the iPhone came out, the socket created Spotify and Pandora, and the camera created Instagram and Snapchat and TikTok, and the GPS created Uber and all these other things. So I feel Chat GPT really is kind of that iPhone where OpenAI opened, they completely switched their strategy to B2C, and now it's like
Right.
a phone where like there's going to be so much built on top of that, and that's like
Absolutely.
really exciting because it's kind of like, like time
Mhm.
where iPhone came out or something, right? So it's cool.
Right. And applications that directly affect people's life, like different kinds of applications, not only in the research and fintech space. So I'm excited
Yeah,
about
I think like, yeah, again, I think it's going to be really like in finance, right? Like in
Mhm.
finance and marketing and sales, customer service,
Absolutely. Yeah.
like all of that. I feel like that's going to be like one, it's not going to be just one thing serves all. It's going to be like
Mhm.
you're going to have your own, I think essentially each person is going to have a model created for like them.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And that's how granular it's going to be. Like, and
Mhm.
it's like, so I feel like it's like, that's kind of the way we're going, right? Like,
Yeah. Absolutely.
so, but and I know that maybe we could talk a little bit about kind of what your typical day at work looks like. And how do you see this kind of role evolving now, especially with how this, like, everybody wants to know about this, not just like the technical people, right? Like,
Absolutely. So yeah, I would say it's a mix of a lot of different processes. So there's like a lot of coding slash research work that's also involved. Like I said, there's completely new techniques that coming up every day, and we need to be like abreast of all those just to make sure that the suggestions or solutions we are building for business make sense and is the latest ones, and also is like adhering to all the governance guidelines. So yeah, a lot of coding, a lot of research. There's also like talking with the business, having like constant meetings to make sure that the data requirements are met, like setting up evaluation matrix and criterias, and then working back with different stakeholders to see that those evaluation metrics are getting correctly interpreted by the human QA process. And then we definitely like map back to all our KPIs and see how are we actually adding value. Is it actually reducing time like we thought, or like increasing efficiency and productivity? And then yeah, so it's a mix of a lot of things right now. And I feel that this is something that I really enjoy, because like if you're constantly coding in the background and not having the exposure to business and the long term vision of where the business wants to go, that kind of limits your potential in terms of thinking about the solution. So I really like this mix of being hands on as well as being a little bit of business centric, so that like all technical things that you develop is aligned at the end of the day to the business goal. So yeah, it's like a mix of all these three things.
yeah, no, I feel like that sounds like a unicorn, right? That you could do both. Because I
It-
feel like not everybody is that skilled to actually do that, right? Because some people just prefer one or the other, right?
it's
So,
definitely dependent on like how, what's your personal preference. I definitely feel that for me that is like a good medium or a good balance, where like I'm not only coding heads down all the time, but also like getting to see that where it's actually getting applied and how the return is coming and how can I then improve the solution. So that's definitely a good mix for me.
yeah, no, 100%. And speaking of talking to less technical stakeholders and audiences, how do you handle like LLM discussions with those kind of folks? Because I'm sure that's like a completely different, way of discussing it versus that you would do with a peer.
Right, right, definitely. So I think the goal again, like I think I one of my previous managers always said that data is the best storyteller. So it's not always if you start talking about matrix and like how it has, how much percentage it has reduced, or like how the accuracy scores have increased. Maybe they will not be that much into it, but the end of the day, what you need to put across to the business and the leadership is that how is it effectively adding value. And that's why, going back to my previous point, with the vision and the KPI of where the organization wants to go, that would give me the platform to kind of connect both the worlds, right, and tell that story accordingly. So it's definitely more abstracted, more overview, but then connecting the dots that, hey, okay, if XYZ is your KPI that you're looking for, this is how my outputs and these matrices are directly contributing to those KPIs. So it's definitely and I'm still learning. It's a hard thing to learn, like how to kind of build out your technical, or like package your technical outputs into a more comprehensive storytelling way. It's definitely a skill that it's like a lifelong learning. I feel like I'm continuously trying to figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. And just improving it right at each time.
Right.
So,
Hopefully.
yeah.
Yeah.
And what are some, I guess we talked a little bit about some challenges, but what are some advantages of actually implementing large language models in the fintech space.
Right, absolutely, and I very strongly believe this is that like initially when we were starting to build models, it was always from scratch, and that takes resources, that takes time, that takes like a long time of processing to actually see if the model or the process works or not. So that start to finish POC to see the first level of outputs was taking a lot of time, and that was hard to sell to business, right? Because they really want to see if the solution works and then get into the nitty gritty of it to build out the actual solution. So with the large language models, with keeping in mind that there's always a scarcity of business data and how clean business data you get, having LLMs and some of the foundational models have been like game changing. Like you create that as your baseline, you start fine tuning or even instruction tuning, right? Like so with some of the models, Flanty 5 based encoder decoder models, you don't even have to like at the initial stage start fine tuning. You can start with instruction tuning with your specific questions, business use case, some examples, create like maybe a chain of thought process prompting, and you just get started with it just to see that is it working for you or not. So that turnaround time has tremendously decreased and added a lot of value, I feel, in terms of both data science as well as like business coming together to build a solution.
Right. No, for sure. I think efficiency is what we're going to see, right? So,
Mhm. And also we are helping the environment, right? Like not like spending so much RAM and CPU and GPU hours like just trying to train our own model from scratch.
exactly. Yeah, 100%.
Mhm.
And the last question I had is what are some kind of are data, like some of the data scientists that you're following now that you think people should know about that are talking about some interesting things, maybe not even LLM related, right?
Yeah, there's like quite a great like few startups that have come up with a really good way of leveraging some of these AI capabilities. I recently was looking into how Cohere is building some of these models and how their evaluation matrix is getting set up. There's companies like Fiddler AI who are trying to like create a more strategic and strong evaluation matrix parameter, which I feel is like really important. There's like a lot of work to do still. We need to work very closely with the research as well as the industry community to see how that balance comes together. But overall, I think we are in the right direction, and there's so much interest in the space in the open source community. I am definitely sure that like we are going the right way, and the right way to build things.
Awesome. No, it's definitely an exciting place to be. And thank you so much for spending time with us today, Jayeeta, and for sharing your expertise with the audience.
Absolutely.
It's a pleasure to have you. And you can actually, if you want to see the panel, we will share it. It was a really great panel. And, we're also might be doing another webinar to dive more deeply. We'll share that with you as well when we have that on the schedule. So there's plenty more to learn, and to dive more deeper about this topic. But thank you so much, everyone, and Jayeeta, and have a wonderful rest of the week.
Thank you so much,
Bye.
Anna. Thank you.